because I do think there is a slight tendency for the YouTubers and the Instagram lot to kind of glamorize everything, and I think it'd be really nice to kind of get a conversation going about kind of what it's really like, what you need to be thinking about. Don't believe those YouTubers and those van lifers that just pretend everything is beautiful and amazing and fun all the time. It's not gonna be.
We're Alan and Sadge, and we live full-time in our converted van Apollo. We're road tripping our way through Europe, discovering what van life on the continent has to offer. We've been living in our converted van Apollo for a year now. We've learned a ton of stuff and we want to share it with you.
Don't forget to keep watching till the end, because the best one is always last. Money. Fuel costs. People talk about living in a van as being a very, very cheap way to live, and in a lot of ways it really is. But in other ways, it's quite expensive. And one thing that you really need to factor in is fuel costs. We're spending, what, €100 a week, something like that, driving around. So if you're planning to stay in a fixed location, can be super cheap. If you're planning to travel, however, then the amount that you could potentially spend on the road is really quite significant.
While obviously fuel costs will be a massive expense, you've also got to take into account tolls, insurance, some places need vignettes, food's massive at the moment, lots of little things to all take into account. It depends how you travel. If you're wanting to stay on campsites or expensive airs, it's going to cost more. If you want to do your laundry often, it's going to cost more.
Yeah, don't be fooled into thinking campsites are super cheap. We went all the way to Croatia thinking, it's going to be a really cheap place to spend a bit of time. It was actually one of the most expensive places we've had to stay, just because you had to use campsites, and they were €20 a night.
Yeah. For those of you who've watched our UK adventures, you will know that for us, getting water was quite tricky. We'll put a link above to the Wales video where I was running around with bags, begging people for water. It was pretty challenging. We're super lucky that we've got a water filter, which helps because you can put whatever water you want in your tank within reason and it will come out nice and filtered. But yeah, obtaining resources, especially water. Then you've got to think about your toilet, black waste disposal, grey waste disposal. It's never ending. It comes in, it comes out, it comes in, it comes out. It'll never end.
It's the kind of thing that's much easier in Europe over the pond. You can use the airs, which are nearly always free, and then you can dispose of your black waste and get fresh water. But in the UK, we found it really challenging at times, especially because it was during lockdown back then, so a lot of the campsites were closed. But even so, some campsites aren't interested in you letting you just use the waste facilities. They want you to stay a night, and then we're kind of getting back into that money territory and how much that can cost. So it can all really add up.
Nothing more stressful than having a full toilet, no water, nowhere to wash up, nowhere to do your teeth. It's not fun.
No. Insurance. It's not as easy as it seems, and you're going to need a specialist company to do it. Basically, you just need to spend a day or so phoning around all the insurance companies and trying to get a quote. You also need to consider if you're planning to live in your van full time, a lot of insurance companies don't like that and they're not really interested. Then you're talking about needing a permanent residential address, and it can just get quite complicated. So that's definitely something else to look into before you kind of commit to the whole van life process. So make those phone calls before you sell your house and you get your van. You need to know where you're going with that.
Don't assume it'll be easy, because it probably won't. Something we thought might be a problem, and has been at times, is decision fatigue. There's a reason why Barack Obama wore the same clothes every morning and ate the same breakfast every morning, because he had a country to run and he couldn't be bothered figuring out what shall I eat, what shall I wear. And that is a bit van life. Shall we stay here today? Shall we stay somewhere else? Shall we go to that shop? Shall we go to this shop? Which order shall we do things? The choice and the freedom is amazing, and what a lot of people do van life for. But that does come with the downside of you actually have to figure out what you want to do each day, what you want to do each month, how you want to spend time doing all your different things. So it just can get a little bit wearing, especially into the day when you're tired, you're not sure where to park, there's lots of different options. So just something to be aware of. You're going to have to make a lot of decisions a lot of the time throughout the day. Doesn't sound like much, does it? But it is.
No, yeah, it's not even big decisions. It's just a constant influx of little micromanagement decisions. Most of them are kind of irrelevant, aren't they? But you've still got to work out where you're going. You've still got to work out where you're going to park. You've still got to work out how many baguettes you're going to need. It's always two. So, it's just something to bear in mind. I think the Instagram narrative can make it seem like this is incredibly relaxed, beautiful, easy lifestyle. And actually, there's still lots of decisions to be made, and it can be quite stressful.
Yeah. There's lots of downsides to living in a bricks and mortar house, but at least it doesn't move.
Something else to consider. It takes ages to do anything in a van. Washing up, there's no dishwasher and it's a very small space. Cooking, you've only got a couple of hobs, maybe a little oven. Just bear in mind that things that are very easy to do in a full-size house with a full-size kitchen in a van can take a long time and be quite stressful. I think that's especially important if you're working in your van, or you're working full-time, for example, and just living in your van. You've got to remember that it's not going to be a case of just getting up, jumping in the shower, off to work. Everything is going to take longer, isn't it? Oh, you want your shower, but you've run out of water, so you've got to fill up, you've got to go and get the external tank and then top up your water supply and all the rest of it. So just bear in mind that with van life, it really does suit that kind of slower pace of life, where you're slowing down and just taking your time with things, because quite frankly, it does just take forever to do anything.
Yeah. Good rule of thumb is double or triple the amount of time you think it's going to take you.
You want to boil a kettle? Cool. Fill a kettle up, pop it on the hob. Give yourself 10-15 minutes, then your kettle will be boiled. Then you've got to make your tea. Don't even talk about the washing up afterwards.
It's an hour.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
So if you want to spend a significant amount of time outside the UK, we need to take into account the Schengen. We all know what it is now. 90 days in a 180-day period. Not going to go into the details because there's loads of really good vlogs out there and information out there about it. It's just really something to take into account. We do not have the freedom post-Brexit of just being able to go in and out and stay out in the continent for as long as we please. So just really planning ahead with that one.
I think it's easy to think that you can just spend 3 months in Croatia or a couple of months in Croatia and a month in Romania, something like that. But actually, if you're doing that at the wrong time of year and the weather's not very good and stuff, it can just get quite complicated. None of it's not doable, but you're going to have to be a bit more adventurous, and it might not be what you kind of expected. When we first went into this, we didn't even realise the Schengen zone existed. And it was only just after Brexit, so we were quite shocked.
Yes. Plan ahead.
Plan ahead.
People,
be
plan
prepared.
ahead.
Something else to consider, just a quick one. Internet data and using your phone abroad used to be very simple pre-Brexit. Everything was free and included in your roaming. These days it's not so simple, and even if you think it's simple, it might well not be. I'm with O2 and it seemed like everything was fine and dandy until I got a message one day saying I've been charged £70 because although they don't charge for roaming, they've got a fair usage policy, which means I think if you go over 4 months, then suddenly everything is chargeable, and we're talking like £4 for a gig. So you just got to be aware of it. If you're using a lot of data, maybe you're uploading videos to YouTube, stuff like that, it can be quite expensive. So it's just another thing to consider. In the UK, not so bad at all really. You get your normal contract, you want an aerial on the roof, all that kind of stuff. But that's quite simple to do. But yeah, it really is. If you're over in Europe, you've got to think about it.
Also, if anyone's made any head nor tail sense of any fair use policy, we're talking like 10 pages PDF here, put a link in the comment below to me, because I can't make head nor tail of it. But the first 30 seconds will be at 0.35 megabits per second, and you will be charged 0.035p.
Confusing. Breakdowns and unexpected costs. We all hope our van doesn't break down. Young Apollo here has done us very well. However, it's a definite possibility. You've only got to see Camper Vibes video that, absolute nightmare. So, yeah, you've got to have an emergency fund really, haven't you, to make sure that you've got enough money to repair your vehicle. But also it depends where you're going as to how easy it is going to be to do that. Again, if you're over in the continent, you need to think about whether you want some kind of breakdown cover, how much that's going to cost, because we looked at that and it's actually really quite expensive to do. So it's not just a little thing. It adds quite significantly to your costs. We didn't bother. Probably should have done. So yeah, you just need to be aware that it's not always going to be plain sailing, and stuff like tyres for vans are quite expensive. We had to get our brakes done. That was a good 500 quid, something like that. So all these little things can add up, and if you're really close to that kind of that running out of money line, you just need to make sure that you still have a little bit extra for when stuff goes wrong. Otherwise it could be a bit of a disaster really.
Luckily for me, I love this one very much, but It is very small, with 2 people, 24 hours a day for however long you want to do it for. It's just something to take into account. Make sure that you really love that person, or at least you've got really good communication styles and you're going to be all right together. Because I can't imagine doing this with someone.
Yeah, we spoke about before. Like, if you're like a young 18-year-old couple,
don't really know each other very well.
You're going to live your dream, and it just seems like a great idea. And then the next thing you know, you're pooing next to each other in a porta potty. It's a small space. You want to get on well, don't you?
You do, yes.
I think making sure you take time to spend a bit of time apart as well, because otherwise you realise that you spend every second of every day together, which, whilst lovely, isn't massively healthy. Go for a walk on your own, get out for a bit, go for a run.
Yeah. The answer to everything.
The answer to absolutely everything.
And sometimes we'll sit in the front, or maybe someone will be on the bed, or just even within the space you can create a bit of space. There's nothing more frustrating than both of you trying to cook, or both of you trying to do something in that small space. So yeah, don't expect it to be easy.
You could just have that as a mantra for van life.
Yeah,
don't expect it to be easy.
To be easy all the time.
Don't believe those YouTubers and those van lifers that just pretend everything is beautiful and amazing and fun all the time. It's not gonna be. You guys know that, but it's good to remind yourself of that. We knew that when we went in, that it wasn't all going to be like easy and sexy, but it's still a surprise sometimes. Yeah.
God, is it worth it though?
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yeah.
So, our final point, which is isolation and mental health. If you're not staying in your van in the community that you live in, and you're going to be travelling around lots of different places, you're going to have an amazing time. It's going to be fantastic, and you're going to see amazing things and speak to amazing people and eat amazing food. I'm sure you will, but you're also going to be by yourself quite a lot of the time, even if you're with one other person. No friends, no family. It's even things like you just want to go and get a loaf of bread and you got to navigate speaking in a completely different language. The food's different, the climate's different, the landscape's different. It can be very isolating, can't it, to be completely away from that for long periods of time. Yeah, we didn't see any other Brits for ages when we were travelling, and I think we kind of naively thought you'd jump into this van life community and you'd see loads of people your own age and it'd be friends for life kind of thing. And like, that definitely is possible, and if you're quite extroverted and friendly and you're good with new people, definitely achievable. However, if you're a bit insular and you don't see people on the road very much often, then that is quite hard. It is quite isolating. There were definitely periods where I felt quite lonely, and like I hadn't really spoken to anyone I could have a normal conversation with apart from this one in about 2 months, and that's not a healthy way to live your life for a lot of people. It certainly wasn't for me. I got quite down about it. So you do just have to keep an eye on your mental health and how you're feeling, and it's like a juggling act, isn't it? It's like everything. It's like if you're working full time, you've got to be careful that you don't burn out. There's all this stuff you just got to balance. So I think just be aware that van life can be great, but it can take a bit of a toll on your mental health if you don't look after yourself. It's important to feel connected to other people and to have meaning in your life and do things which you find enjoyable, which you will get from this lifestyle, but also, like Alan said, just need to be aware and look after yourself. Eat well, get good sleep, speak to other people, get outside, be fine. Yeah. Maybe get a dog. Yes, or 2. So that's our kind of list of stuff we've thought of, having done a year of van life, but we'd love to hear from you guys about what you think. That's by no means an exhaustive list. I'm sure there's loads of stuff that you guys have either been worried about, or maybe you've been doing van life for a while and you've thought, hey, you guys didn't talk about this is a massive thing. Drop us a comment. I'd love to hear it, love to have a conversation about it, because I do think there is a slight tendency for the YouTubers and the Instagram lot to kind of glamorize everything, and I think it'd be really nice to kind of get a conversation going about kind of what it's really like, what you need to be thinking about, what you need to plan for, what you need to worry about, and all that kind of stuff. We all know it's going to be amazing, and you're going to be parked up on a wonderful beach having a fantastic time, but it's all the other little bits that I think would be a good thing to talk about. So drop us a comment. Thinking about van life, full time, part time, just want to give it a go? Maybe just talk a little bit.
Hello, I'm talking a little bit.
Well done. Talk a little bit more.
No. A lot of the online mobile phone providers. That's not online mobile phone. Online mobile phone providers. What? The list's gone.
Hey, hey, hey.